Hi, welcome to the channel today. And today I'm going to be talking about what do you do whenever you plant out your tomatoes. And yeah, I know I planted them yesterday. And then you look at the long range forecast and they changed the forecast and now we got a chance for frost in a couple of days. Now to kind of show you what I did, I planted 63 tomato plants Saturday and Sunday and looked at the long range forecast. You show the next 10 days, everything was 40 degrees or above. Good to go. Looked at it this morning. I was going to plant. I still got 30 more to plant, and they changed their forecast. Now they're showing one day at 38, and then later in the week another day at 39. Now, what we're afraid of or worry about is will we get a frost? Now, for me, a frost is that ice crystals that form on leaves or forms on your car windshield. You know, frost is not freezing temperatures. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But you're just trying to keep that ice crystals off these leaves because that can kill a tomato plant, or it sure can really set them back. Now sometimes you think they're dead, but they'll come back, but they still set back a couple, 3 weeks, which that's why we plant them early to get a jump. And so it kind of kills yourself that way. But there's a few things you can do to solve that problem. Now the first thing we should have done was plant them deep enough that you can get the coverings over it. Now these right here, this is a thing that you can get at the Dollar Tree right now. I bought these today. And basically what they do is they just fit over the top of your tomato plant. And if you had smaller tomato plants, it'd even be better. And then you leave them open during the day, and then when it gets at night, you can turn these and it will keep the frost. And what you do, you just take it and you just pile stuff up around it like that so it won't blow away, and there you go. Nice, easy, works really great. Except when you come over here, and this one here is a little bit taller, it don't fit. So there, that causes a problem. One other thing you can do, you can also use one of these, but that's not going to be tall enough either. It's just a water jug or milk jug. Cut the bottom off of it, sit over the top of them. They work also. Since those don't work, the other thing you can do is just take a 5-gallon bucket. It doesn't even hurt the fact they got hose inside of it, because all you're wanting to do is to keep that frost off the leaves. And you just take this, sit it over the top, and you're done. The problem is I don't have 63 of these. So, but this, if you only have a few plants, 5-gallon bucket works great for frost protection. Some people will take those wire cages, those big wire cages, sit over the top of them, and put a piece of cardboard over the top. Again, that keeps the frost off the leaves, because all frost has to have 3 things to form. First thing, it has to be 38 degrees or colder. Second off, it has to be a still day. So if the wind's blowing, you're not going to have a frost. And the third thing you have to have is a clear skies. Well, as you can tell in the background, we have cloudy skies today. However, one thing you have to be careful of, one year I looked outside, it was going to get cold on a Sunday morning. So Friday night, I look outside and it's cloudy like it is today. So I thought, well, even though it's going to get down to about 36, 37 degrees, that there's no use me having to put out any protection. So I got everything set up and got ready for the freeze, and we got a frost that night. Because I got up the next morning, looked outside, and the sun was shining. I thought, oh crud. Sure enough, it damaged them. It didn't kill them, but it damaged them pretty heavily. But we're having a freeze coming. So on a freeze, what you would do, these don't work very good for a freeze. The reason being, the footprint's pretty small. Plastic is a very poor conductor. I mean, a very poor insulator. Even these, anything that hits, when I cover this up and I get a frost, and if that leaf is hitting the side of it, it's going to burn that leaf back where it's touching on the side. So that's a problem. They just don't give you any insulation. But what you can do, you can take this bucket, you can put it over the top of this plant, and then you can take either frost fabric or something like that and put over the top of that. Now what I used at that time was I came back with the landscape fabric that you use for a year or two, then realize it's not worth the crap, and then you decide not to use it. it does, you can repurpose it, and it does make a good frost blanket. And so what we did, we put buckets on it. We took these things like this and set beside the tomato plants. So when and also use cardboard boxes. Cardboard boxes work great. Cardboard boxes actually have a fair amount of insulation to them. We lined all those things up, put the cardboard boxes, put these up, and then we took that landscape fabric, put it over top of it, and I think we got down about 30 degrees, and we suffered no more damage. I got way more damage to the frost than I got for the freeze the next day. So that's something to consider. Like I say, always look at your long range forecast, but always know they can be wrong. And I have noticed, on at least Weather Underground, they tend to moderate their temperatures. So it seems like if you can have a cold temperature, it seems like it starts off warmer and then gets colder the closer it gets. So do I regret planting my tomato plants this weekend? Not really. Now if they die, I'm going to regret it. But the other thing, if you got some tomato plants in reserve, and I do, I don't have all the varieties I got out here, but I've got another 100, I probably got tomato plants at the house. Probably got 150 if I count the ones I just planted. I got some about this tall, but in about 3 weeks they ought to be ready to go. So do I regret planting them early? No. I still think that's the best way to go with it. Even if I was in the Dallas area, I'd seriously consider planting them. Just have your buckets ready, or have some type of frost covering to be able to cover them. Or like I say, if you got a box works really well. You know, because we're trying to beat the heat down here. So anything we can do to get down early. Now, everything that I said about planting early, covering things up, that is not true for peppers. With peppers, if they get really cold, in fact, I may go ahead and buy some. I see some peppers at the store. You know, they were for $6. You got 6 for $3.50 a piece. I may go ahead and buy those before it gets cold, so they won't get cold at the store. And just make sure, because they're really small, but I can grow them on up to be a little bit bigger, and that way I know they hadn't suffered any cold. Because if a pepper plant gets cold for one day, it gets down in the low 40s, it's going to stunt that plant, and that plant's not going to grow as well as it would have if it had not gotten cold. So just remember that. Pepper plants need to be planted later than tomato plants. They don't recover. Like a tomato, you can get the leaves burned off of those with the frost, and they'll still come back and produce. That'll be a little later, but you know, they don't seem to stunt like your pepper plants or your eggplants will. So eggplants and pepper plants, push those off to later. You know, me, I'm not going to try planting peppers till close to the first week in April, when I know all the cold weather's gone. But tomato plants, hey, we're ready to go. We're going to rock and roll with them. We're going to see how it goes. That year that I got that really cold weather I was talking to you about, I got to thinking about today, that was my best tomato crop I ever had, early. You know, no one else made me tomatoes that year. I made a bunch of tomatoes, but they were coming off first part of May, last part of April, first part of May. And then it got really hot and killed everybody's. And most people say, oh, I only got very few tomatoes. I got a good crop. Why? Because I planted them early. So I still believe in planting them early. I did wait on my planting I was going to plant my cherry tomatoes today, but you know, it's going to get cold, and it's just going to be hard to cover all these. I mean, I got 4 rows to cover here, so I'm going to have to work on that. Hopefully I can save I don't really have any more paste tomatoes, so I'm going to try to save those first. I'm not going to do this because we're going to get rainfall, so I'm going to wait till a couple of days to put these on. But you know, not before the freeze. I'm going to put these down on all these ones that'll fit, like over here. And that's all we're going to do, you know, and that'll work. Just realize that next week these probably be too big to work for this. But anyway, these are tomato plants that I planted. I showed them yesterday. I did finish these other 2 rows up later. Some of them are getting really tall. Some of them I'm going to need to do something with because they're so tall that they're going to start blowing over. But anyway, it's always fun gardening. You always got to kind of be fast on your feet and change things. And that's what I'm having to do now. But happy gardening. See you next time.